you. Joining me now is Paul Gilbert. He's a media lawyer. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning, David.
This story is deeply, deeply serious. It gets worse with every passing moment. What we now know, the BBC has finally referred this to the police. These allegations were made back in May. The BBC says new allegations came to light on Thursday. We're calling this presenter X. As a presenter myself, I have enormous sympathy with presenters who are taking to social media saying, it's not me. This is a terrible situation.
It's a very difficult situation because the BBC has a duty as a responsible employer in this situation not to identify who presenter X is. I'll use your way of referring.
I think it's easier and safer.
I agree. And that's as a responsible employer. That they also have a duty because of the reasonable expectation of privacy, which the presenter X will have. We've seen recent high-profile cases where quite substantial damages have been awarded by the courts in relation to breaches of privacy, even where the person is under investigation by the police, which is not currently the case with presenter X. So the BBC are in a difficult situation here. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see if more presenters come forward and say on social media that it's not them, and the risk of what is known as jigsaw identification of presenter X on the basis of those who have said it's not them. And the BBC will have to deal with that situation if that is what arises. I think, on that question about whether the BBC is ruinous for the BBC where they are now, what I think is really important is that, and no doubt in due course we'll get an idea of this, what exactly it was that the BBC were first told on the 19th of May, because I don't know, but I wonder if these sorts of allegations or things like this come into the BBC. And again, as a responsible employer, they've got to look carefully at whether or not they do launch an investigation, how serious the allegations are. Now, I appreciate there's now a dispute about whether the BBC did or didn't try to get hold of the family to find out, to investigate the matter further. So that that remains a question yet to be answered, and I'm sure that in due course that there'll be some investigation into the way the BBC handled this. But you've then got the situation where, and although they don't say this, the Sun contacts them as a responsible newspaper to get their comment on on the story they're going to run on last Friday, and the BBC say we are now aware of different allegations, and they then subsequently take the decision to suspend. Could that have been done faster? Should that have been done faster? Again, depends on what investigation they needed to do before they took that decision to suspend.
And just in terms of the role of social media, because this has changed the landscape dramatically. People are now sharing thoughts on who those presenters are. I saw a tweet from Jeremy Vine last night where he'd been named as presenter X, and essentially he's furious about this and is threatening legal action, whether he's taken that legal action. Last night he named the person on Twitter who had said it was him. Also on social media this morning, I woke up to see images, including the alleged image of presenter X. So people are sharing these images. It's being widely discussed. There's a silence from the BBC, a silence from the police. And when there's silence, there's a void, and something will fill that void.
Well, first of all, we don't know what the position is with the police. So I don't know that anything should be said about how the police are dealing with this at the moment. As I said, the BBC are in a very invidious position as far as this issue is concerned. But just on this point about people naming presenters on social media, they need to be very careful about that. In fact, they shouldn't be doing it because that is defamatory. And we have already had cases in the last few years where people who have been defamed on social media have successfully got substantial financial awards from courts for defamation. And Jeremy Vine is absolutely right. That if he's being named, he has been named as presenter X. He has the person who's done that has no defence to a defamation claim, and could find themselves paying a substantial sum of money, either because they have to agree to do it because they're going to lose the case anyway, or because the case goes to court and they end up having to pay costs and damages as well. So it is, in a way, quite staggering when you hear about this. Sadly, I'm not surprised about it because, let's face it, it's been going on for some time now. And in the end, if people want to take that risk, well, they're going to take that risk. But the fact is that is defamatory, and it's a serious defamation.
Well, I think the thing is there's this disconnect, isn't there, on social media? People think they can act with impunity. They think they can post anything. They think that they're untouchable.
That's right. And that's a fatal mistake because they're not. And good on Jeremy Vine for naming the person, because, you know, that's really saying you can't hide. I know who you are. If he felt inclined to do it, and it's an expensive exercise to get involved in, he could issue proceedings, or threaten to issue proceedings, and that person will end up paying a lot of money.
Can I just ask you about this picture that's circulating? In fact, there are a couple of pictures that are circulating. What's the law surrounding that? We don't know if that picture is fake. We don't know if it's been altered. We don't know anything about it, and yet people are sharing it.
I'm afraid I don't know what that picture is. You've told me something new about this story.
It won't take you long to find it.
Right, OK. What is the picture of, though? I'm afraid I don't...
The picture is of presenter X, allegedly.
It's the same would apply to that. If it's not presenter X, it's defamatory. You know, it's as straightforward as that. It's really, as you said, this danger of people thinking that they can say what they like on social media. Yeah. The moment they put something up, they publish it. If it's not true, if it's defamatory, that is, that's against the law. There are very serious consequences that flow from it.
Very good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. That's Paul Gilbert, a media lawyer.